Now we're looking at this figure 2. There are extensive homologies, similarities between one bacteria and another microscopic entity, and they're similar, but they don't provide the same purpose. And he's trying to say, well, we find something like I mentioned in a Ford. There's some similarities in the components of the Ford engine to a Toyota engine, but we're taking a luxurious Toyota and comparing it to the basic Ford. That doesn't prove anything, because the factory and the Ford can't take that particular carburetor and just install it right into the Toyota and expect it to work. So that doesn't mean that unless all the components are there in the Toyota as manufactured and designed, that Toyota won't work. Something will break down. It won't start, won't run properly, so on. But the same thing with these two microscopic entities. It has to be designed and put together purposely. You have similarities, but you're not comparing apples with apples. You're comparing apples with oranges when you say, well, this is similar over here. Therefore, this could have evolved. That simple thing over here could have evolved and been in the combined itself with the other bacteria and functioned differently. So here we go. We're moving on down to where we left off. He says the existence of the TTSS, some functional component of one microscopic entity that's alive, in a wide variety of bacteria, demonstrates that a small portion of the irreducibly complex flagellum, those little lines that go out there, they can indeed carry out an important biological function. And I go, yes, you say that that's the similarity, but it doesn't prove that the point that if all the components are not available immediately, that particular bacteria won't function and won't survive. Especially the flagellum, which does so many vital functions, moves it around, gets food, gets out of waste, gets it out in position, gets it out of danger, and so on. So I say, but not the same function as in a different species. But then he goes on to say, since such a function is clearly favored by natural selection. He hasn't proved that, by the way. The contention that the flagellum must be fully assembled before any of its component parts can be useful is obviously incorrect. No, it's obviously correct. You haven't proved. You have to take out a component and see if it can function, and see if it go get that final assembly point of some components. You take a carburetor out of a Toyota, try to put a carburetor of a Ford in it, it won't work. So it still has to get the carburetor of the Toyota that was designed for it. He doesn't do that. He doesn't actually. Here it is. Your science is faulty. Have you placed the mechanism in the TTSS, in the bacteria, to test this? What this means is that the argument for intelligent design of the flagellum has failed. No, it has succeeded. Because you are testing the wrong hypothesis. Proved something that is irrelevant and boasted that you can have defeated the concept of an intelligent designer. That's just another thing. Why not an alternate point of view that's plausible? Right? You haven't seen anything or proved anything, and you haven't seen or I haven't seen or proved out an intelligent designer except by examining creation as it stands. And I've never seen a particular life component that is missing a vital organ that survives, or I've never seen a life component that is without that can evolve into one that has that. We have found no missing links over the hundreds of years that the people have been espousing evolution. So no, you are testing the wrong hypothesis, proved something that is irrelevant, and boasted that you have defeated the concept of an intelligent designer. even if what you have determined is true, and it is not, an intelligent designer could have created both species from nothing in far less time. There's evidence of something that is so complex that we have to see how that could have arrived by just less complex, less complicated life forms could have then designed that or evolved into that somehow. Now, you have simple life forms like bacteria. They seem to have a certain amount of capacity, but not the ingenuity of the human. We have ingenuity of apes and porpoises and things like that, but nowhere near the ingenuity of a human being who can change his environment and survive, adapt. What could have figured that out and then designed something superior to itself? Besides that, Sir Isaac Newton says, the laws of thermodynamics, things are devolving, not evolving. And nothing less complex can actually form itself into something more complex. Where's it going to get the idea to add these flagellum out? You might have a simple cell that operates in a very simplistic way, and then these bacteria that invade the human body, for example, and cause disease or some other thing, it figures out when it's being attacked, one bacteria, and forms certain things to counterattack that. Well, when it is being attacked, for example, by some kind of mechanisms in the human body that seems to have been designed, then these bacteria, these germs, form a defense. But they only do that when they're being attacked. Then they stop when they're not being attacked. That's amazing. How'd that do that? Simpler bacteria would be destroyed, but some of the bacteria defend itself. So counterattack, classically one of the most widely repeated charges made by anti-evolutionists, that's me, is that the fossil record contains wide gaps for which transitional fossils have never been found. That's right. Therefore, the intervention of a creative agency and intelligent designer must be invoked to account for each gap. Well, that's a plausible explanation. Since we have not seen the evolution of something less intelligent to more intelligent, then we have, well, okay, until I see that, I've got to conclude somebody designed this. So I say an intelligent designer must be invoked to account for each gap. Such gaps, of course, have been filled with increasing frequency by paleontologists. We haven't seen one. The increasingly rich fossil sequences demonstrating the origins of whales are a useful example. Well, the problem with that is that's been debunked. Some of the features of the whale are still useful for copulation. They aren't the beginning of the adaptation to land, and then the whales came back on land and became dinosaurs or whatever they're talking about. So I remark here, species with similarly designed components do not nullify an intelligent designer who would create or could create those species out of nothing in an instant. It is a far better solution than to wait for millions, billions of years for a unique species to evolve, like mankind, like the porpoise, which time span is most likely older than estimates of the age of the universe. Michael Bay's book, Darwin's Black Box, and other biologists and other creationists have shown that evolution of a particular species or part of a particular species, like the blood clotting mechanism in the human being, would take longer when investigated with math, probability, right? Far longer than the universe appears to be old, according to the evolutionists. So all this stuff that we see, all the advanced life forms, could not have existed if the universe was only 15 billion years old? Again, let's go to intelligent design at the speed with which it could have created something out of nothing and quickly. So, time span is most likely older than estimates the age of the universe, thus disqualifying itself as a rationale and plausible means for how the species exists. Take a drink of water here. Why not have all of the species be created and present at once, and the interdependence for food, survival, water, and other benefits be immediately available, as observed in the universe today, albeit with fewer and fewer species as time goes by? It appears this is more plausible, especially because there has not been observed any actually new species that have arrived on the planet. We can look at the old ones that have died out, don't exist anymore. Is that evolution or devolution? The number of species appears to be diminishing, not increasing. So the worldwide flood is a plausible and well-corroborated event. So it appears this is more plausible, especially because there has not been observed any actual new species that have arrived on the planet. Take actual there and fix it. The number of species appears to be diminishing, not increasing. So the worldwide flood is a plausible and well-corroborated event, which event is more plausible than the concept of millions or billions of years of time going by, because all that water would have destroyed the fossil record if there had been one, leaving one with a recent creation, not an ages-old one. So, ironically, this author says, I get going here, the response of anti-evolutionists to such discoveries is frequently to claim that things have only gotten worse for evolution. And my answer is they have. Where previously there had been just one gap as a result of the transitional fossil, now there are two, one on either side of the newly discovered specimen. But you haven't discovered any gaps, so why are you talking about imaginary things? There have not been found any actual transitional fossils over the hundreds of years that we've been looking at evolution that one can prove was a descendant of another fossil. Similarity, but not the same. More plausible is that there are uncountable fossils of similar design, not descendants of one another. Furthermore, the spaces between fossils in the frequently discovered fossil order in the rock strata, which speaks more of a worldwide flood, contains nothing. Matter of fact, the order of fossils we find around the world is not consistent. So it looks like something catastrophic happened and deposit these things in different orders as you look around the world. How do you make something out of nothing unless you are an intelligent designer or creator? And are you? More on this next time.